All right, we're back. Now we're just gonna dive right into this again. Make sure you have your ortho finished. This is, you need this to start. And then, we have ZBrush, but we're not gonna do anything in that just yet. First off, we need to decide what scale we want our doll to be. I want my doll to be 28 centimeters. That's what I designed all of my dolls to be at. That's just what I picked. So you're gonna want to go to Tinkercad, make an account, stuff like that. And once you're in, you're gonna create. So we're gonna create a 3D design. I'm just gonna grab this cylinder, plop him right on in here, and we're going to decide how tall we want this cylinder to be. So this is in millimeters, snap grid millimeters. So we're gonna make my doll 28 centimeters tall. I need to know how tall that is in millimeters. So we're gonna do millimeters to centimeters. Oh, yeah, okay. So 1 millimeter is 0.1 centimeter. I want my doll to be 28 centimeters. Okay, 280 millimeters. I want this object to be 280 millimeters. Bam. You can use any shaped object. I just like to use this. Oh, I messed up. No, I didn't. Okay. 28 centimeter stick. And what we're going to do is export this. I'm going to click over here on the right, click export. We'll just export it as an object file. We'll open that zip file, and we will remove that zip file, or our object from our zip file. I'm going to name this 28 centimeter stick. Okay. So the reason it's important to do that first is because I have no earthly idea how to scale this canvas. In other 3D software, you could define the dimensions. Like, you could tell it to be millimeters, centimeters, inches, stuff like that. I don't know how to do that in ZBrushCORE. I had this program for 3 years. I'm still learning. Tutorials on it are kind of hard to find. So, we're just going to force it to be, around the scale that I want by importing an object in here. If you don't import an object in here of the size that you want, you can run into some funky issues with scaling and trying to use your Dynamesh later. So you're going to go to Tool, Import, and we're going to import that 28 centimeter stick. Bam. I need my tablet pen so I can rotate this stuff around. Okay, here we go. There's our stick. He's obviously facing the wrong way. So, first thing we're going to do is turn off perspective, because we don't want perspective. We're closed-minded. It's easier to model with perspective turned off. You can do that by tapping this. You can also push P on your keyboard. Now we're going to activate the gizmo by pressing E on our keyboard. We're going to rotate this while holding Shift and rotate it 90 degrees. Perfect. Now the floor has jumped to the bottom of the object. That's what we want. That's fine. You can turn the floor off and on. It's, no big deal. Cool. So we now know that when I make a doll, I will have to, make my parts this size. And it should real world scale be 28 centimeters. That's how I do it. It's always worked, so I'm not going to question it. Now we have to go through the trouble of importing your ortho into ZBrushCORE. Again, I don't know how to do that. Generally you can go to View and import your images, and it'll automatically import them on the back and a side view. I haven't figured out how to do that. I'm not even sure if ZBrushCORE has that option. ZBrushCORE is just a stripped down version of ZBrush. Again, trying to find tutorials for it is a headache and a half, so we will just do it my way, the really convoluted, annoying way that I've discovered. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open your subtool view, just tap on it. You're also going to click Append, and we're going to add a plane. And you're going to see how your plane is now 28 centimeters tall. It usually scales itself to whatever object is here. We're going to go to our plane. We're going to go to Geometry, and we're going to divide this bad boy 6 times. Or 7. Then we're going to delete the lower ones. And you're like, that didn't do anything. And that's okay. It did stuff, we just can't see it. So we've got our plane. Now we're going to go to Alpha, in the top left corner, and click Import. you're going to import your ortho view, and I have it as an alpha map. Now what I do is I don't want to use the move tool, I use the clay buildup tool. And then I change free stroke to drag rectangular, and I change this alpha here to my ortho. Gonna make sure your intensity is up kind of high. Okay. And you're going to just try and get it in the middle of the square. Click and drag. And you're gonna try and make it as up and down as possible. So I'm going to just line it up with the corners on the edge of the feet. And there we go. We now have our artwork imported in here as a makeshift ortho. It's really just, a geometric object that we've created. Now we need to split this up and remove the extra junk over here. So I'm going to hold Control and drag right to the fingertip. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Control and drag right to the fingertip. I'm also going to nab this. And now I'm going to go to split, masked points. Now, oh, you know what? Before I do that, actually, let's go back to our stick, and I actually want to make sure that this is the same. My artwork is the same size as the stick. Now I want my doll to be 28 centimeters, not including the ears. Okay, that works for me. It's a little bit taller. Now we will split it up. So we'll take this extra off the top, take this extra off the side, do it over here, do it right here, because we don't want to lose that little nose and those little toes. We'll go to split masked points, hide this. So, theoretically, this is the same on both sides. Oops. And now we're going to go to this one, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to delete all this extra space that we don't need. Split masked points, and I go down to this bottom layer and delete it. Now what we're going to do is we need to make these line up. So we're going to click on our object. We're going to click E to activate the gizmo and just go to Unmasked Mesh Center by clicking this little icon. We're going to drag it to the right. Roughly, you can kind of eyeball the middle. Now we're going to rotate this bad boy 90 degrees by holding Shift. Bam. So we can't really see it from the front. That's fine. We can see it from the side. That's what we want. This guy is already in the center, and it might be a little bit off. It's okay. You're gonna eyeball it. There's no perfect way to get this all lined up with how we've imported the artwork, because I have to come up with my own ways to do stuff. But now we have our ortho view, which is perfect. This is what we want. Cool. I'm gonna name this front. I'm going to name this right, because it's the view from the right. I'm going to name this stick. And now we can start working. So what you want to do now is you just want to start blocking out your doll. And I like to start with just spheres. So you're going to import it. I actually like to model with polyskin. Oh, and anytime your stuff gets off center, like your thing, and you want to get to the front, you can either click on this guy, these little arrows, or you can hold Shift while you're rotating it. It'll lock the camera view. Because we have an ortho view now, and generally you want to model directly from the front. Yeah, see how it's slightly off. What we're going to do is, see the screen line? We want this to be the midline of our body. So I'm going to go to here, and I'm just going to drag it and hold Shift. There we go. That's basically dead on. Cool. I mean, kind of. It's still a little off-center. And I don't really want to move this circle off-center, so... we'll move it just a smidge. No, too much. Okay. About right there. Alright, cool. So we're going to start with a circle for our head. I'm just going to duplicate it. We're going to use a circle for the neck piece. Maybe a little bit smaller. Okay. And then we want a circle for our arm. Our shoulder socket. We want a circle for our leg. I'm actually going to move it over here. And we'll start with just that for the moment. I'm going to mirror this. Deformation mirror. There we go. Because then we can rotate to the side and we'll be able to see it with our right view. Because now that we've got them good from the front view, so we're going to rotate it, look at the side, and we're going to move these to match where they are on the right view. So this guy needs to come forward. This guy needs to come forward. This guy needs to come forward too. And so does the head. And there we go. So I personally like to start with the body. Oh, let's save, by the way. I'm just going to name it Bunny Doll. Okay. And now we're just going to do, basic blocking. You don't want to get any kind of crazy detail in here. You just want to block it out. So we're going to go to our head object, which is this one. We're going to make sure that symmetry is turned on. Transform, activate symmetry. You'll also want to make sure local symmetry is turned on. And you can change the size of your brush by using this draw size, or you can click the brackets on your keyboard. And we're using the move tool, and we're just going to drag this stuff around. I'm going to hide that neck one. And I'm going to hide the side view one. There we go. We're just going to pull this around so that it matches the shape that we want. And you can smooth your object by holding Shift. There we go. That looks good from the front. We're going to go to the side. Now we need to make it look good from the side. So we need to drag this forward. Pull this down here and here. Okay, cool, we're getting there. I need my brush a little bit bigger. We'll smooth that out. Drag it a little bit. And if you find that, see how the polygons over here are all tiny and these ones are all really big and chunky now? You can hold Control and drag. Oh, well, actually, we have to turn this into a dynamis before we do that. Never mind. We'll do that in a second. Now, we can't see our ortho view anymore. If you would like to, you can click this transparent to activate edit opacity. And then you'll be able to very faintly see it. Stuff like that. Now we're going to check and see, how this looks from other angles. So from the 3/4 view, we need a little bit more cheek. So we'll just pull some of that out. It's thrown off our front view, so we're going to go back and push it to how we want. I just kind of do all this, and this is the fun part, making your stuff work from every angle. Could be kind of a challenge. And the reason we're doing this, you might be like, but why are we doing it so low poly? I can't get any detail in there. And that's right, we don't want you to add any detail just yet. We want to block out the main shape. And it's easier to smooth with a less dense mesh. So it looks a little funky from the back. We're going to clean that up. Alright, cool. And you know, if you find you're having issues pulling your mesh around because it's getting too low poly, as you can see there's big squares here and then all the little ones are up here, you can retopologize your mesh. And to do that, we're going to make it a Dynamesh. So you're going to go down to, we'll hide split, we'll hide deformation, geometry. And here's Dynamesh. This is what we're going to be using a lot. If you click it, it turns orange, and our resolution is 128, which is too low. You can see that that is too low. We're going to try 230. Nope, still too low. Let's try 312. Yeah, that's fine. We can start with that. And see, I lost a little bit of the nose, so I'm going to be pulling that back out. There. I'll pull it out a little bit right there too. There. And as we start sculpting more and more, we will gradually pump this up. Now that it's at 490, we can hold shift and smooth it all out. Just a little bit. Actually, it should be a little bit higher. I don't want to do 800. Let's try 6. That's still not very... Yeah, that's fine. We'll mess with the head later. Well, maybe we should just do the whole head right now. Nah, we'll just continue blocking out. So we have our head. And now we're going to make the neck and the body. I'm going to save it first. So the way to add more objects to mess around with them is to click append. So we're going to go to append. And we're going to add a cylinder. Use a very big cylinder. So we will go all the way down to his layer. And you can change the visible count so you can see more or you can see less. I kind of like to keep it like at 5. So here's our cylinder. We're going to click E to activate the gizmo, and we're just going to shrink it, you know, put it where it is. And you're just going to continue to do this until you are done blocking out your doll. And I find it's easier to kind of sculpt them with different parts and assets rather than sculpt it out of one shape. So we're going to go to append. I'll use a sphere for the chest. E, shrink it, move it up. Put it about right here. Make sure that symmetry is turned on. Activate symmetry, local symmetry is on. I'm just going to drag and pull this stuff around. Yada yada, make it look good from the front, and then make it look good from the side. So I'm going to just continue to do this, and I will try to edit and speed this up in post. And anytime I come up with any kind of, you know, tip to give you, I will slow down. Okay, so now we're working on, we want to do the lower body. My tip is to click append, and we're going to add a sphere. First, I'm going to hide the chest piece because it's in my way. We're going to shrink this sphere. Now, when you make a lower body and you want an upper body joint, you kind of want this to stay as round as possible. It doesn't have to stay a perfect sphere. You can flatten it like this. You know, that's fine. You can flatten it more than that if you need to. But I like to do it like this. And then I will duplicate that object. And I will keep this object. And now I'm going to pull this around. And I haven't shown you how to do masking yet, which is another fun thing you're going to want to do a lot of. It's an easy way to do fingers, horns, spikes, or just, not mess up a part of a shape you like. So we're going to zoom out a little bit. You're going to hold Control, and you're going to drag. And you have to start out here in the gray. Oops, you can't do it like right here because it'll want to put your gizmo on this object. We don't want that. And if you need to, you can hide anything that's in your way. So I'm going to hold Control, I'm going to drag out here, and I want to grab the bottom part of this object. So sweet. Now we can move this part without interfering with the other part. I'll hide that. And you can invert your selection as well. So you can hold Control-I, and it'll make the part that you had not highlighted, the highlighted part. So we're going to do that, and I'm just going to drag this here. I'm going to make it bigger. Stuff like that. And now I'm going to go to Move. I'm going to deselect this. And to deselect it, you can either go down to Masking, which is here, and you can hit Clear, like that. You can also hold Control and drag out in the gray. So now that we've edited this, there's like no polygons right here for me to move. Like there's nothing there for the program to grab. So we're going to make this a Dynamesh. And we'll start with, I guess, 400. Make sure that symmetry is turned on. And when you Dynamesh, you can do the same thing. You can click the button to make it a Dynamesh, or you can drag out here. And that'll, re-Dynamesh your object for you. And now we have points that we can grab on and move. So now we can start, continuing to sculpt. I'm going to pull that right there. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Looks fine from the front. Rotate it. Now we gotta do it from the side. So we have this perfectly spherical object, and I like how it looks from the front, but from the side it's obviously too fat. So we're going to shrink it. And you can shrink all of this part as much as you want. You want to try and keep this place where your object will be rotating on kind of straight, or like kind of untouched. That's why we keep a duplicate of the object, so if we need to, we can always go back and add that perfect shape back. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. Everything about ball jointed dolls is finding a nice balance between making things look good while also having a lot of mobility and range of motion. Okay, there we go. We need a little more booty. Booty. Okay. Is that perfect? No, but that's okay. I like to just kind of grab a spot and just pull it in here. That's kind of where the legs are gonna go. The leg spheres. And that's just like a general idea. We'll know how that needs to be shaped as we continue to model. Now I'm going to clean this up a little bit here. we've just been using the move tool for the moment, but now you can try out other tools. Like I like to use the pinch tool to make kind of sharp edges like this. I mean, you don't want it too sharp, but smooth it out, and it'll change and stuff as we dynamesh and redynamesh and all that fun stuff. Oh look, I can see my topology. Nice. Yeah, I don't really want anything denser than that. Maybe I'll leave that on so you can see which object I'm focusing on. Okay, we're going to use the pinch tool again. I'm going to be kind of small. Cool. I want these to be kind of straighter. There we go. That's a little bit better. Oh, I think this pokes out a little too far right here. There we go. Now that definitely, you know, isn't perfect and exactly how I want it to look, but push that in a little bit. I think the shoulders are too wide. So when you're making shoulders, you want to kind of cup this ball, so I need to move this ball in a little bit because I thought it looked a little bit too wide. There. And see how, you know, this topology kind of hides like half of the sphere? That's about what you want. I mean, you can play with it, and, you know, it's just a nice balance of aesthetic and stuff. Because this doll has such large hands, the more surface area the shoulders have, the better for helping with grip and friction to keep the hand from flopping down. That's a tip that I learned from Don Kenny, the artist of By Shonen House. He gave me that tip when I was starting to model. He's awesome. He's where I learned most of this from. Now, he uses ZBrush, and if you have Big Boy ZBrush, you should definitely check out his tutorials. This needs to go in. Now, remember how we used the clay buildup brush and we put our ortho on it? We're going to change that back to what it was before. I think it was this one, and then it was freehand. And, you know, I've told you how to use the move tool and the pinch tool. Now this is the clay buildup tool, so this is like, wow, you can add stuff to it. But that's adding like way too much, right? We don't like that. So what you're going to do is change the Z intensity. There, see, that's better. And you can just, you know, do it like that. And if you hold Alt, it will do the opposite. It'll dig instead of build up. So we're going to lower the intensity. I'm going to dig here because, oh, too much. Let's lower the intensity to 1. You know, we're doing some shoulder blades. Now, I do not claim to be an expert on anatomy. I literally eyeball all of my stuff. It's been a minute since I've done any life modeling art. It's like the best thing you can do as an artist is take some life drawing classes and work with, you know, nude live models. You think it sounds weird, and it does until you do it, and you're like, oh wow, this is amazing. But that's something that, you know, you can do, and you can pull up references and stuff like that. And now another thing to keep in mind is we want this arm to be able to bend down, so I kind of like to dig out just a little bit of a dip right here. I need to hide this so I can model. Just a little bit of a dip right here. there's not a lot of topology for me to work with, so it's having a tough time. But, you know, let it kind of go in and we'll smooth it out. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And I'll show you how to Boolean cut a little bit later as well. But as you can see, we're getting somewhere now, you know? We'll save it. Make sure you save very frequently, or you will cry, and it will be sad. I'm going to move this back a little bit. There we go. You know, and where it gets ugly, we just hold shift and blur it till our problems go away. Definitely need... Okay, now I'll teach you about the inflate tool because that's what I'm going to use here. You just... Inflate makes your stuff inflate like a balloon. Very fun. Again, you can change the intensity up here. You can go freaking crazy, or you can be like just barely bubble. I don't really ever do anything over 10. Most time I do below 5. Because we need this topology brought back. And I'm going to, you know, see how it's kind of intersecting and looking kind of weird. Hold Control, drag out in the gray, or click Dynamesh. It only works if your object is a Dynamesh. Otherwise it won't do anything. You know, keep building that up. We're going to smooth it. There we go. I'm just going to give this ball a little bit of room. But I still want it to have, you know, a surface to slide on. Cool. And, you know, we're not doing it all in one big, you know, high detail, make this look perfect, make that look perfect. We're just eyeballing it. Playing around, learning the basics. While you do this is like a good practice for just getting familiar with the tools. And you can play with these, like snake hook is fun. Smooth is, I think I forgot to mention, to smooth you just hold shift while you're using any tool. I don't use primitives. I'm sure that has a good use, but you know, you can just draw an object and it'll be a thing. Actually, this would be really useful because look, you can kind of squish it around. Huh, I might try that. Pinch, I don't use paint. I don't use trim. Really, I just use move, inflate, damn standard, and clay buildup. Sometimes I'll use snake hook. But yeah, you know, just play with them, see what they do. Oops, we need to go back to move. Thank you. And we're just going to continue to do this. We're going to save it again. I think the hip needs to be just a smidge wider. There we go. Now, a bit of a tip, when you're making the hips, you know, you want to have the ball have enough surface area, which is why we started with that, and we're just kind of like dragging it around and playing with it, because we're going to be losing a lot of this when we start, when I start showing you how to make, you know, space for a range of motion. Because right now you're like, oh, it looks so good, I like it. You will likely be losing a lot of detail. Another thing is your lower body, this part, your crotch area and your butt area. If you want your creature to sit very well, try not to extend it too far down. Like I wouldn't do that, because then when they sit on the ground, it'll be in the way. All right, cool. Now we're going to start with the leg. So I'm going to take that leg sphere, and to move your layer or your object, say it's like too high up and you want to be further down, you can just click on it and use these little arrows. you can hold shift and click up or down to move it all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to just duplicate this leg or the sphere, and I'm going to pull it down. You know, I'm just going to stretch it, pull it, pretend it's a bop it. You know what a bop it is, right? Stretch it, pull it, twist it. Am I too old? Am I an old person now? Yes? Okay, that's fine. So anyway, my tip for, making legs is generally the larger the sphere, the more grip. But if you want to have it kind of clean looking, I've discovered that, making the ball kind of small is, it's not bad. You can make it smaller. It looks kind of cool and, aesthetic. We're gonna just do that number. There we go. And now we're gonna make it look good from the side. Activate that transparency. And just push and pull. Push and pull, push and pull. I forgot to mention you can also use divide right here to add more topology. Like, see how that's kind of smooths it out? You can do that instead of dynameshing if you're not ready to dynamesh your object. You know what, we'll just use the rest of this and make that whole thing. Okay, but as you can see, there's like nothing for the program to grab. It's all low poly. So I'm going to delete this division and I'm going to make it a dynamesh. Geometry, dynamesh. We're going to do like 300. Here we go. I'm going to make it really big. Drag it, and I'm going to use inflate. Now this object's being edited symmetrically, so like, oh, no it's not. Cool. I didn't want it to be perfectly symmetrical because I need to be able to pull it this way anyway. Yep. And I'm not totally happy with how this looks from every angle. It looks good from the front and then the sides, so now I have to, pull it around so that it looks okay from the other angles. Like the 3/4 angle. This needs to come in a little bit more. Actually, we'll use inflate for that. And this is why you keep the polygons low, because when you smooth it out, it's way easier to smooth when it's low poly than when it's high poly. It's also easier to move. You don't get as many like issues with details, and you can't lose any detail because there's no detail here yet. So now I've encountered an issue because this leg is so close to this mid seam that if I were to duplicate it and mirror it, they're basically almost touching, and that's not how I want my doll to look. I want them to have more of a gap. So I'm going to go back to the ortho and I'm going to move it. Like that. Okay, I'll hide the right one. So now I can see that I need to bring my leg just a little bit to the right. There we go. And I need to move this more to the right too. Just a little bit. Okay. Inflate this. There. Now I'm going to teach you how to split. So we don't need this weird lump. Although we could use it to model the foot. I don't want to though. So I'm just going to first off make sure my object's a Dynamesh. I'm going to hold Control and drag and just highlight it. I'm going to go to Split, Split Masked Points. I'm going to delete this created layer. And oh no, there's a hole. What are we going to do? Just hold Control and drag. Okay, maybe not. Click Dynamesh. There we go. Now it's closed up. And now for the feet, ankle part, you want to make this as round as possible. So we're just going to make this a better circle. There. Needs to be smaller. That's okay, we'll just hold Shift and smooth it. There. Now we'll click Append. Or actually we can just duplicate this sphere and we'll just pull it down to the ankle. Yeah, about like that. Now I'm just going to move this around so that it totally kind of goes like that. We want to cover some of the ankles so that there's some grip, some friction. I'm just going to move it a little bit to the right. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to duplicate the ankle and make this paw. I need it to be a Dynamesh now. Oops, we're done. There we go, that's fine. We'll use inflate. And I'll make sure that symmetry is turned on. We'll delete this extra stuff. Oh, we need more. Let's pump it up to 400. Split, masked, delete that, hold Control and drag to close the hole, smooth it just a smidge. Now I do need to shrink this because, wait, no I don't, just a smidge because it's covering the ball. There we go. And now for the toes, I'm going to append a sphere, actually. Oh my goodness. I'll cut the bottom of this off. Make this a Dynamesh. Pull it down. Symmetry. There. It's more like what I want. Now I'm just going to duplicate it. Turn symmetry off. Duplicate, mirror. Oh, that didn't work. That's fine. We'll just drag it. Cool. So now I'm going to merge these three together. I haven't told you how to merge objects because these are the toes. And you can keep them separate like this so that, you know, they keep their nice sharp shape, or you can merge them. So I'm going to merge them. So we're going to go to merge down, click OK. But make sure you really want to do that because you can't undo that option. Once you merge, you cannot undo. So you generally save or duplicate it. So what I'm going to do now is, you know, let's say I accidentally merged those and I didn't want to. You can use your, click on the move tool, hold Control and Shift. Oh, it didn't work. Never mind. Too bad. Never mind. I'm going to make these a Dynamesh. I'm going to click Divide. Delete the subdivision, and now I'm going to make them a Dynamesh. Nope, we lost too much detail. Let's make it 600. Still lost a little bit more than what I want. Let's try 800. There we go, that's fine. That's fine. 800 is fine. So now we've got toesies. And I'm going to duplicate this and the toes, and I'm going to merge these ones. Click OK, hide those because I don't need them. And we're going to Dynamesh this foot, but I want it to be at least 600 because that's what it was at earlier. Nope, lost too much detail. There we go. We'll just smooth this out. And then smooth the bottom. There. And now I want to make sure it's very flat on the bottom, so I'm going to just mask it off. Invert it, Control E, home that, and there we go. You can add detail to the bottom of the feet if you want. I try to keep them kind of simple because I prefer there to be as much surface as possible for standing. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with those feet. Might pull these up just a smidge. And then blur them just a smidge. Yeah, I like how that looked. There. I'm gonna save it. And basically you're just going to continue this until your doll is blocked out. My next tip would be to use a cylinder for the arms. Rotate it 90 degrees while holding shift. Make it tiny. And again, when you make the arms, you want them to start up here and leave a area down here for the arm to bend. And again, I can show you more how to do that when I start cutting and making sure we have a good range of motion, stuff like that. So now I'm going to teach you another tool. I want this to like taper. I want it to be bigger, and you can do that by using the inflate tool. But you can also click E and activate your gizmo and click on this little gear. And there's a bunch of different transformation types. So you can use flatten, bend, inflate, smooth taper, scale, smooth, twist, stuff like that. I want to use taper, and I want it to become big. So there we go. We did it. That's what I wanted. Okay. And you can click E again to activate it, and you can play with these, you know, see what these do. And you'll grab the green one to move it. You can also, I think you can affect like how far out the bend is. Yeah. By pulling on like this white one. Wow. I haven't played a whole lot with these, but that is something that you can totally do. And it's a good way to get the shape that you want without, like, you know, mathematically getting it the correct way that you want it. I'm going to try inflating. Inflate. There we go. That's more like what I want. And now I'm going to go back to the gizmo. And we're going to shrink it. There we go. Oops. And I need to hide this. You know, move this forward so that it's roughly the middle of that sphere. I'm gonna click divide on that and then delete lower division. We will also go ahead and just turn it into a Dynamesh object by going to Geometry Dynamesh. We'll try 200. There we go. Smooth that out. It doesn't really matter because we're going to be cutting that off anyway. So where's my shoulder sphere? There it is. I'm going to duplicate that and put it right there. And if you find your gizmos like not where you want it, just click this and it'll rehome it to the center of your mesh. Okay, well, this is going to be the wrist ball. Now, I have to be very careful because this is a very big hand, which means it's going to be very heavy. So I'll either, you can hollow it out when you print, which might be good because then it's not as heavy and it's very lightweight. We'll also be hollowing out the arm so it's not as heavy. Stuff like that. I think about like that. Okay, and now I'm going to make the fingers. And to do that, I'm just going to take a little sphere, And just kind of do this. Duplicate. Stretch it. I might end up redoing this hand, but you know. Yeah, probably going to end up redoing this hand, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to merge these down. Merge, merge, merge. Duplicate and dynamesh them together. Actually, I'm going to do 700. Yeah, this is the most tedious part. It's making hands. I might actually just import a hand that I've already had made. That's in a very similar style from my Oriana doll. Just because, why make a new hand when I have a hand? You, unfortunately, don't have a hand. But you're welcome to modify Cabot's, if you would like. I don't mind you using a part from Cabot as long as you credit. Or if you change it enough, like so that doesn't even look remotely the same, that's okay too. Just let me know. So then if someone tries to call you out and be like, oh yeah, they told me. I gave them my permission. I already knew that they did that. They were very nice to me. Yeah, because I'm not 100% sold on that hand. But hopefully that gives you an idea of, like, you know, how you can make one. Personally, I'm a fan of just buying somebody else's and then modifying it as long as it has that as something that you can do. Like, you can't just grab a random mesh off the internet and use it. Like, I went out and bought a mesh that let me use their hand for Fantasia. Like, I went and made sure I could use it commercially. You know, it was like, if you're selling X amount of copies, you buy a thing, but I will never in my life sell that many copies of Fantasia, because it was like for video game development. But you can also use mine. Again, you don't have to suffer all the time. I mean, it's fine to suffer for your art, but you know, have fun. If you're just suffering and like having a horrible time, make it easier. Make your hobbies fun. Do not make them not fun. Okay, so, you know, I'm not sold on that hand, and it's definitely really, really big. I also might need to make these feet small, because they're like the same size as the head. I don't know. I kind of like it. I'm a big fan of Mega Man. And, you know, I need this sphere to stay spherical, but it only has to stay spherical where it's rotating. So from like here onward, you can change the shape of it. So like, I want it to go in more. I can do that. I can push it in. You know, I can do that. It's my hand. I can do whatever I want. As long as it can still move, I'm happy. And I will show you how to cut channels, make hooks, catches, stuff like that. But we'll just pretend that this is the most amazing, beautiful hand you've ever seen. I'm going to duplicate this wrist object and keep it, and because you always want to do that, you kind of want to keep your extra, any kind of joint spot, you'll want to keep the original sphere if you can. Yeah, that's not my best hand. Not at all in the slightest. This is not my best work. Yeah, I'm not at all sold on this. We'll see if we can salvage it, but I'm not too big on it. But, you know, there's an idea on how you can make a hand. You just would, you know, do a better job than I did. Yeah, I don't like that hand. But, you know, now we've got most of this blocked out. I mean, we still need to make, like, the ears. So I'll just go ahead and do that. You can do jointed ears if you wanted. You can use a sphere and make a jointed ear head cap. You know, that's a good spot for that sphere. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to duplicate it. And for stuff like this, I like to use the snake hook. So I've just duplicated the ear sphere. I'm going to pull it up like that. I'm going to use snake hook. Snake hook is like the move tool, except like it adds geometry as you make it. So we're going to like this. I'm having a time. I'm having a time. Come on. Why aren't we grabbing it? Okay, there we go. So you can do like that, right? And then I'm going to just use the inflate tool. Wow, that needs more. We're going to dynamesh that. Now we're going to use the inflate tool. That still needs more. 600. Okay. Inflate. And now we're going to just move it around. See, isn't that fun? You use the right tools and you'll get the shapes that you kind of want. I mean, it's not perfect, but, you know, it's not bad. I might redo that later. I'm going to use damn standard and kind of carve this out a little bit. Just a little bit. A 33 intensity may be a little too much. And then you can also use like the pinch tool to like make stuff pointier, like that. See, there's lots of cool stuff you can do with ZBrush. That's why I paid $200 for this. It also came with a Wacom tablet, so I kind of bought the Wacom tablet and got this for free, but you know, it's whatever. But now we have our base doll. And that took a while, you know, and it always does. But once you get the base done, the rest is pretty, it's just fun from here. So, there you go. Get going, chop chop. Make sure you save your stuff also. And I'll make another part.